What's up, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Full Circle. I'm your host, as always, Older Harmon Jr. Please feel free to find me at Older Harmon Jr. And for all you audio listeners there out there in podcast land, guess what? The YouTube videos are back. Yes, I finally got my COVID-approved format. So you can find this episode 121, I believe, on YouTube as well. So yeah, you can see us. And you can see my very special guest, Zachary Ryan. Everybody, give him a hand of applause. Woo! So, Zach,
I love a hand of applause. I love it. Thank you. What's up, Odell? How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing? I see you rocking the
Right.
Waluigi hat.
I am. Yeah, I bought this for Halloween a few years ago, and I found it in the back of my closet, and I was like, you know what? This is actually a pretty nice beanie. So on weekends, I've been wearing it to, just like a nice Waluigi steez. I don't mind it. So
yeah, I mean, you have the natural build for it, I must admit.
Thank you. Long, lean, evil. I get it.
Run like a machine.
That's right. That's how I do it.
So, by any chance, for those who may not know you, who are you, sir, and what do you do?
Yeah, right on. I'm Zach Ryan. I'm the director of editorial video at IGN. And what that means is my job is basically I oversee a team of creators and producers. We take a look at what editorial is doing, like what articles they're writing, and figure out how we want to adapt that to video. We do a lot of original video content as well. So we do a lot of like explainer pieces, video essays, deep dives, things like that. And my team essentially comes to me and pitches ideas, and I help formulate those ideas and get them into a format that is like right for our different platforms and audiences. And then they produce, I give feedback, we help publish, and that's basically it. So I'm kind of the line between editorial staff and video staff at IGN. I've been at IGN for about 5 years. I took a brief stint at Ubisoft for about half a year to work on their PR team. And you can find me just about every week on Nintendo Voice Chat. I'm a panelist there talking about what I love, which is Nintendo games. So,
well, all right.
I love video games as a whole, but yeah, my specialty I feel like is Nintendo stuff.
Okay, so sounds like you kind of know what's going on in the world of video games, just a little bit.
I try, Odell.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right, we'll put that knowledge to the test because, ladies and gentlemen, this week we are going to be talking about the best soundtracks of this generation. This generation has finally come to a close, so the voice of the generation is also the music of the generation. And since we'll talk about our favorites, they're therefore the certifiable favorites of all the generations. Sorry if you didn't get a vote. You weren't on the show. I tried to have you, but that's your fault, not mine. But before that, we're going to be talking about Pokemon. So October 22nd, the last DLC for Pokemon Gen 8 is coming out, which we can officially say Pokemon Gen 8 is now complete. We can all enjoy it. It'll be done. But I got Zach. He likes Nintendo games, but he's not the biggest Pokemon stan. But we're going to talk about what can Pokemon do to appease me, a long-term fan, and what can it do to appease someone like Zach, who's aware of it, like everyone I assume is. Can maybe get into it because it's been stagnant for a while, so they're going to have to appease both sides of the coins correctly. We're going to talk about that. But before that, the PS5 has unveiled its user experience, user interface, UX, UI, whatever you want to call it, whatever sounds cool to you. Mm-hmm. And the internet had some opinions, as they usually do. And Zach, I'm going to start this off by saying, it looked kind of like it did now, for better or worse. Uh-huh. But there were some cool things going on there. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't blown away. I don't know what else they have in store. If you know more than me, then well, shame on you. I guess keep those secrets. But from what the world saw, what did you think? I was very lukewarm, but I thought there were cool things going on.
So, I mean, first and foremost, I think it's really funny that we're so hungry, we're so desperate for PlayStation knowledge at this point. Like, PlayStation has taken such an opposite approach of Microsoft this generation in revealing their console that, Microsoft has been very forthcoming. They showed us a lot about their system. They showed us their games, etc. And neither of them has done a great job of talking about their user interface. But I thought that it was kind of funny that how excited people were to see PlayStation's UI. Like, all of a sudden, that I think that information dropped on Thursday, that state of play, and my whole timeline that morning was just like, "Oh, have you seen this UI?" And I was like, "I've never seen people this excited about user interface," which is great. Like, I think that's really cool that people have something to get excited about. I've always been a PlayStation guy over Microsoft, Xbox. I've owned Xboxes in the past, but have not really spent a ton of time there. And so PlayStation is sort of my system, my user interface of choice. And I liked what I saw in this rundown. I think that they're doing a couple of things that are really neat. I especially love the way that they're handling displaying trophy progress and kind of resetting the trophy count, which I think is really interesting. And I really, really dig this picture-in-picture idea, right? That you can pin something to your gameplay as you're playing it. So, like, if you're stuck somewhere and you need a walkthrough or a guide, you can play back some video there. Or if your friend is playing a different game, like, you can pin their stream, their feed to your screen as you're playing a different game, so you can watch what they're doing. I just think that's really interesting. It's a really interesting way to approach game help. It's a really interesting way to approach like streaming, things like that. I think that that's probably the most the part of the user interface that I'm the most excited about, despite the fact that, like, I typically don't use a lot of game help. If I get stuck in something, I prefer to kind of muscle my way through it. But I think it's a really cool opportunity for a lot of different stuff there.
Oh, most definitely. To backdoor what you said about the game help, I'm like you. It's kind of like my inner gamer pride. Oh, I can't look
Mm.
this up, especially if I look it up and realize, oh, I could have easily figured it out in maybe 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, what have you. But strategy gods are dead because we have the internet now. May they rest
Hmm.
in peace. They got me through, some early gaming inks. But and I never thought looking for game help was hard because I was always like, YouTube's always a click away, whether my computer, my phone, what have you. But something about, I think, almost game changing about the game help with the cards, as they call them, is one, they're kind of spoiler gated. Like, oh, you want this specific information on the level you are currently on. The game kind of knows where you're at, and it knows what you haven't done and what you have done. And I thought that was cool. Like, oh, I didn't think going to YouTube, finding the right video that wasn't 30 minutes long, just the specific part of the level I needed, was hard. But I was like, man, this would save so much time because I'm playing Crash Bandicoot right now, and it's like, okay, game, I've literally played this level 1,000 times. I searched everywhere for the gym. The interest is nowhere to be found. I swear to you, it's impossible. No human being can ever do it ever. I go to YouTube and the guy's like, here's the level. And I'm just like, fast forward it. Oh, crap, he has the gym already. Rewind it. Okay, I've watched for 5 minutes. He still doesn't have the gym. Fast forward it 2 minutes. I missed it again. And,
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, so I could just be playing Crash Bandicoot 4, assuming it had the system, and be like, where's the middle gym? And it's just like, there it is. There. And I'm like, cool. I didn't stop my game. I didn't lose a beat. It kind of
Right.
already knew I wanted to. I'm just like, it's kind of like a quick resume with Xbox. You think it doesn't sound that amazing. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. Then you think about it practically, and you're like, oh no, this is big. So do you think they're hiding anything else in the user interface, or that's like the vast bulk of it?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I think that there's tons of macro and micro adjustments that are coming to that user interface that we won't know until we get our hands on a system. I think there's a lot of stuff, probably a lot of accessibility stuff. There's a lot of, like, fine tuning options that are in there that we don't know about yet. So I'm excited to kind of get in there and dig around and see what else they've hidden, because even until relatively recently, there's stuff that my PlayStation 4 could do that I wasn't, particularly aware of. So I like the idea of they've shown us, I think, the biggest features, the key features of the user interface, and there's probably a metric ton of other stuff that we've yet to see. So there's plenty we're going to learn about it.
Yeah. I'm really excited about the microphone controller because
Hmm.
I don't know. I guess I'm getting old now, so things like, I'm not gonna talk to my TV remote. That's stupid. And now I do it daily, like
Sure.
nonstop, all the time.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, I don't know, outside of, like, voice chat and stuff, I can save money on a fancy headset if I wanted to. Are there gonna be things that, I'm like, PlayStation 5 controller, make me popcorn, and then it's like, got you. Yeah.
PlayStation 5 controller, order me a pizza. Like, let's go.
What is it? PlayStation controller, play. What's the game that you can play on anything? Skyrim. Play Skyrim.
Skyrim. Yeah,
Yeah,
play
there it is.
Skyrim right now.
Just like Go left, go right, up, down. Oh, wait.
Uh-huh.
I guess it won't be able to, right? Not anymore.
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh,
Probably
dang.
not. Yeah.
Oh, that's sad. I have depressed myself
I
in this
know that was a
hobby.
real emotional roller coaster. You're getting so jazzed, and then all of a sudden you bummed yourself out.
Yeah, so I got a question. What would be one change that you haven't seen from PlayStation or Xbox that you would want to see in the user interface from either or maybe something that they've done, but you feel like they didn't do it good enough. Like they're on the cusp of something great.
um, I mean, just from a PlayStation perspective, I'm looking forward to a UI that's really smooth. I think that the PlayStation 4 UI, especially this late in the game, is very jittery, sort of buggy, has a tendency to kind of freeze up and stutter through stuff as you're selecting. I don't like the way the store and the library interface. If you're looking for applications or games that you've downloaded, it's kind of convoluted to dig through there and find, specifically where, like, if you purchase something on PlayStation Network through the phone app or on your computer or something like that. You have to navigate through a few different menus to get to the library and start downloading it. And like there are auto download features that are implemented on PlayStation 4, but for some reason I've just never had any luck with them. I feel like I've purchased games in anticipation of a launch that I'm really excited to play. And then, back in the days when I worked in an office, and then come home from work and it hasn't started downloading yet. And, the whole day I'm like, I'm going to get home. I'm gonna start playing this game right when it drops at 9 PM or whatever. And then, get home and it's like, okay, it's 40 gigs that I still have to download. It's like, well, damn. So I'd like for that to be a little smoother, figure out an option to make uh, downloading games faster, easier, and just more readily available, I think.
You know, one of the things that so Xbox kind of does this, but
Mm.
somehow doesn't do it right is where and PlayStation doesn't do it at all. And the Switch, I mean, they're in their own world, so whatever about them.
Mhm.
But so usually when you earn a trophy and on the Xbox UI now, you can the art that you get from achievement in this case, the art you get from achievement, you can pin as like your background wall.
Mhm.
But the art comes with like, the actual everything. It's just literally a screenshot, like it has like, the gamer score and stuff at the bottom. And I was like, especially when I was looking at the PlayStation UX, especially how the cards had awesome art. There's all this awesome art that you get from when you earn a trophy or certain in-game achievements, and they're not really accessible. They're there, and I'm like, why can't I take that awesome art you created? It's almost like a reward for
For
doing it,
earning that achievement.
yeah, and pin it
Yeah.
to my background, make it an icon, just do something with it. And like Xbox kind of got it right, but it was almost like just a literal screenshot. It doesn't fit your screen,
Mhm.
depending on where your settings are. Like I had
Yeah.
I don't know what my settings were. I was playing on my computer screen once, and then now the picture's like out of proportion and all crazy things. And I really want, I don't know, it's a simple thing, but I really want all this awesome art that they give us in cards, backgrounds, achievements, trophy rewards, and be able to really actually physically use that. I'm like, the data's
Mhm.
there. I can see it. I don't want like an awesome screenshot that I see for a split second and I can never see it again. And just,
Yeah.
customize it that way, especially, like how you do on your phone or any other, tablet device. I just think that'd be
I'm
really
I'm not
cool.
I'm not much of a trophy hunter. The only game recently that I've really sat down and gone for the platinum was Ghost of Tsushima, and it kind of surprised me that even now, as far into the PlayStation life cycle as we are, that when you unlock a trophy, when you win it, get a trophy on PlayStation, it takes a screenshot. Um, of that moment, but then it's got this ugly like bug in the corner that's like, oh, here's the trophy that you unlocked, and then like I would like think that there would be a better way, a cleaner way to present that too, because sometimes you manage to do really cool stuff and it's a great screenshot and you want to remember like, oh, that was that moment or share that. But then it's got this like ugly like camera thing and it's like, okay, you did it. Like, I don't know. I've not ever been a fan of that.
So you want to hear a funny story about me? So I always get in the habit of when I earn a trophy, I instantly hit the PlayStation button so I can see what I did. If it wasn't like obvious, like you beat the level 1 boss,
Mhm.
for example, I'll be playing Spider-Man, I'll be swinging, and then a random trophy will pop up. I'm like, oh, what is that? So my screenshot is literally almost always the transition between me playing the PS button in the game. So like I have like
Yeah.
this and like
Yeah.
I never broke the habit. Like 90% of my trophy screenshots is just like me going
It's
back
like
to the
a
home
quick
screen.
zoom out. Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's
it
pretty
drives
funny.
me bananas.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know programming. I always like to tell people that I don't want like some guy at Xbox or Microsoft or Sony being like, oh, this guy, let me see him work 200 hours to get that one thing to work.
Right,
If
right,
that's the
right.
case, it's all right. We'll
Takes what
live,
you
I
can get.
guess.
Yeah. Hmm.
But speaking of improving things,
Uh-huh.
Pokemon,
Right.
yay! As anyone who's ever met me ever, maybe for like a minute, knows I love Pokemon. I just do. It is what it is. I can't say it any sooner, any simpler than that. But Pokemon Gen 8 is pretty much wrapping up at this point. We're getting the last DLC October 22nd. And that's probably, I mean, per them, that's gonna be it. I don't know if they have some crazy haha, we got you plan, but I don't think so. They're re-releasing the game in a bundle. That's usually a finite sign of, yeah, this game is done. We've done everything we planned to do.
Hmm.
And as we all know, Pokemon of all things was one part of the biggest controversy last year with the national Dex thing. That still blows my mind till this day that I've never seen so many people get cussed out, threatened to end someone's life over like something that's
I,
innocent as Pokemon.
it still gets brought up on every episode of NVC in the comments. Anytime that we mention Pokemon, somebody is there being like, "Well, you guys gave it a 9.5 or whatever," and it's like, yeah, because the person Casey who we had review this game loved this game. Like that's what a review is. It's an opinion. And yeah, I'm still, as somebody who's not kind of a fair weather Pokemon fan, I'm still pretty blown away by the fact that people were so upset about a lack of a complete Pokedex, because there's so many of those little monsters now. Who's got the time to collect all of them?
Yeah, I mean, as a fan, like, I mean, reading some comments just to talk about this, they would be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm so happy I haven't played a game since like 2 generations ago," and I'm like, "So why are you upset? Like,
Right.
you haven't, you dropped off years ago, and I assume you weren't planning on coming back. But even if you did, I'm just like, all right, logically, you dropped off 2 generations ago, so that's 2 generations of Pokemon you didn't know existed,
Right.
never interacted with in the game. At least maybe you saw them like in the show or on cards or what have you, and now you're upset that those 2 to 300 Pokemon you never even bonded with or no or not in this whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. We're the fools. We're the fools. But so a lot of things I will say, Gen 8, Zach, in case you didn't know, it was a lot of people were on the fence about it, minus the controversy. They were just like, oh, this is the first console game, you know, mainline title. So they came with a lot of expectations, and a lot of people felt they weren't met,
Right.
whether it be graphically, functionality, difficulty, story, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And as a longtime Pokemon fan, I can 100% agree. Though I will say Sun and Moon is probably the worst game to date, and no one really talked bad about that. I was just like, where was this anger last generation? That's where we needed it, but oh well. And so I'm thinking, I really think what hurt Pokemon in general is that they catered to the Pokemon Go crowd, like the people
Mm.
who haven't been there since maybe day one. And now we need to get those people's money. And they made Let's Go. And then people who play Let's Go, they're like, oh, okay, we can't alienate these people. And I get that from a business standpoint, from a game design standpoint. You want to not exclude people who want to join the journey.
Mhm.
But I almost felt like they welcomed them but excluded long-term fans like me.
Mm.
It was I don't want to say dumbed down experience, but it was definitely, you could tell that they were expecting this to be your first rodeo.
Well, I mean, that's kind of how I feel about every Pokemon game, right? Like I'm a Pokemon fan in that I every time that there's an initial release, right? Like Sun and Moon, X and Y, going back all the way to the very first ones. I'll pick them up and play them. Play through them. I've completed most of them. There are some that I've dropped off on. But I am also not the kind of person that goes back and does like an Ultra Sun and Moon or Ruby Sapphire or whatever it was, Ruby Omega Ruby, right?
Yeah.
Um, the remixed or the complete editions, like that's not for me. I just want to play through and beat all the gyms, and then I call it a day. Like I don't do all the breeding, I don't do all the end game stuff. And my issue with Pokemon is that it's kind of been the same game, but it's been like sort of a cookie cutter thing. Every game is basically the same game to me. As somebody who's not a mega fan, as somebody who's not into the meta, like they all feel very, very similar. And I think what's interesting about Sun and Moon, or I'm sorry, Sword and Shield, or maybe disappointing about it, is that a lot of other Nintendo franchises coming to Switch took the opportunity to sort of uh, either reinvent themselves, like Breath of the Wild, like Super Mario Odyssey, or create the best possible version of a previously established franchise, like Luigi's Mansion or Fire Emblem Three Houses, right? But then you've got Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is just kind of like another Pokemon on the Switch. And I think that is what is sort of missing for me. And like that to me is more of a reason to be upset about that game than the National Dex or, whatever the controversy was there. And so, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. It is a little bit formulaic. And I think that is what has kept me from being like a long-term, like a bigger fan of Pokemon.
Oh, I completely, that's 100% understandable.
Mm.
And I always tell people I love Sword and Shield in the sense of the quality. I love Sword and Shield from the meta perspective. The
Mhm.
meta was really refined. They really did a great job. I applaud them. 10 out of 10. But like you said, I really feel like they've grown. I don't want to say comfortable, but used to the cookie cutter formula. They know it's good, and I'm just like a fighting game like Smash. Smash is both fun for the super meta people and for the people who, even if it's your first one, they cater
Mhm.
to both sides of the coins wonderfully.
Mhm.
And I think Pokemon is no longer doing that. And I don't know what they could do to change it, because I feel like since the meta's already good, they can stay the path with that. But what if they made it look like Nino Kuni and the world was built
Mm.
like that? You know, I feel like they could. I mean, since it's literally by definition a JRPG, they can keep battling the same and stuff, but really JRPG up the world, like just
Mhm.
really crank it to 10. And I feel like you can still not lose the essence in that, because I look at some of the live animations, like the music video they just did with Bump a Chicken, and some of the short series anime, not the mainstays, but they recently had a Twilight
Okay.
Wings, excuse me, thing on YouTube, and it was based off the Galar region, but it was very like PG-13 Pokemon. The situations were real, the people are realistic, and things of that nature.
That's cool.
And I was like, why can't they translate that to the game? I'm not saying make it mature, but you have realistic proportions, bodies, like any other JRPG, Persona 5, Genshin Impact. I'm trying to think of Noir
Uh-huh.
Nier.
Automata.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
know, make it, Yakuza for all I care. You have all these JRPGs lived in
Mhm.
worlds. I mean, hell, if Like a Dragon can go like full on RPG and still not lose his identity, I don't see why Pokemon can, do the same. And not a Gale of Darkness. I No, that was, I don't know what that was. If you remember those 3D Pokemon games from the
I do.
GameCube era,
From
yeah,
the GameCube, yeah.
yeah, that was like that was like a 3 steps forward, 2 steps back situation. I don't know what was going
Mm.
on with that. But
Mhm.
yeah, this game was a half step. I can honestly say that I look back, it was a good half step. I enjoyed it, but what I'm hoping for in the future, this was an experiment game. This was a game like maybe it'll ultimately be like the Mario Sunshine. It's not a bad game, but when you look what came before it and you came after it, it's gonna be like, oh, okay. So, we're in our Mario Sunshine state. Not a bad game, but maybe a little angst about it. And then Galaxy will come out and we'll all be like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Praise him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when in this conversation will be dated, and people will be like, oh, you're talking about you haters. Why'd y'all ever hate Sword and Shield? This most underrated Pokemon game ever. They pay you
Yeah.
to have opinions?
Maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. So what do you think a Pokemon game could do to make you be like, I am not a casual observer? I'll be like, whoa, like this is
Um, I mean, I love what obviously what Zelda did with Breath of the Wild, right? Like, I would love to see a more holistic, more organic sort of Pokemon game where you're kind of just cut loose on into an open world, and you run into animals in the wild, and it's not a transition to a JRPG sort of battle mechanic thing. Like I think that where you're looking for the game to lean more into JRPG tropes, like I'd like them to lean less into that and really rethink the way that systems interact with each other. You know, I think it could be a really cool opportunity to explore different biomes, do some cool stuff, like incorporate some like actual like dungeons and puzzle solving outside of the gyms, which I know are Pokemon's versions of dungeons. But I think that like having a more just having a more lived in feel rather than the way that Sword and Shield uh, struck me as kind of like, okay, now you're gonna go do this thing. Okay, now you're gonna go do this thing. Okay, now it's like I felt very prescribed, right? Where it was like, okay, now you got to go find this thing and take it to this guy, and then go to this gym, and then fight this person, and then go. Like it was just like a checklist, which is kind of how Pokemon games are structured. And I would much rather have it be something more akin to Breath of the Wild, where they just cut you loose and you figure out your own path, you figure out your own way to capture Pokemon, you figure out your own way to tackle each gym. You know, those are the kinds of things that I think would really make my ears perk up and pay attention to Pokemon moving forward.
Some Pokemon you beat with a stick and you catch them. Others you got to befriend them.
I hope you don't have to beat any of them with a stick. But
you know, would you get rid of the turn-based battling, or would you keep that the same?
I'm not sure. I think that they like. You know, I think the lack of like moving from an overworld screen to a combat screen would be really interesting, but I don't know how you would particularly issue commands to a Pokemon without looking at some kind of turn-based system, right? And like maybe it's more akin to an action game where you have different attacks mapped to different face buttons, and you know you use a different button to open a wheel that allows you to select Pokemon or select items, and you can call. You know, it's more of an action feeling game, like an action RPG, and you play as you play that way. That could be really interesting. I don't mind. I don't mind the turn-based combat. I just feel like as a RPG, because it is, you know, it is a JRPG. I do feel like it's very rudimentary. It's very every Pokemon feels very like JRPG 101. So
Got you. Me and my friend once we had this crazy idea that it'll be for cosmetic purposes, but every battle will be more like the Pokemon are moving around, they're doing things, and not it looks cool, but you know, until you select the attack, and then you know the game runs its numbers, and then the attacks interact, and you know they do cool stuff. And so even though you're still selecting, you know, you're still picking an attack, and you know that's ultimately going to determine. It's just a whole bunch of flair and you know razzle dazzle in between that the game just you know does. I mean, that'd probably be a programming nightmare from the ground up. You know, 800 mon, each with their own unique animations to counteract with other unique animations from, you know, however many possibilities. But, you know, just to close this off, the thing that has always perplexed me about Pokemon is just I've seen interviews and read articles and things of this notion of, you know, they want to win back fans, they want to, you know, welcome the people back and stuff. But Pokemon is still like, you know, the biggest brand on the planet. I feel like you don't have to try to win anyone back or try to bring in new people. It's Pokemon. Like,
Well, I mean, I agree and disagree with you there, right? Like it's always such a huge sales boon. Like obviously Sword and Shield did just insane numbers despite the controversy. But like look how upset people got when you changed one little aspect. You know, like first game without a complete dex, people flipped out. So, you know, while I as a casual Pokemon fan want to see something different, maybe you know, hardcore Pokemon fans don't want that. They just want a similar experience every time. You know, it's like when your favorite band puts out a new record and they're trying different sounds, new styles of music, and people are like, "Well, I'm a fan of you because you did that old stuff." You know, like that very well could be the case with the Pokemon fan base.
I don't know. I completely hear you with that analogy about music because you know we're talking about the best sounds of the generation.
Great transition,
yeah,
Bill.
it was there.
Nicely done.
You
Damn,
you
that was
laid
a
it
home
up.
run.
You laid me the alley oop, slam dunked
Yeah.
it down. Just I
Great.
know you didn't do it intentionally, but I saw it. I was
Love
just like,
it. I
oh,
love
here
it.
it comes. All right. So for all y'all who've been consistent listening to the show, you know we've been doing this whole wrap up of the generation thing And this is no different this week. We're talking about the best sounds of the generation, which I'm not gonna lie. This is one of the things that's always made me feel like a bad game journalist, host, content creator, whatever umbrella of titles we can fall under. It's just people will be like, oh man, this composer, insert name here, did an awesome job. And he did a great job because he composed the music for insert game here that came out in 1996. I'm just like,
Right.
man, am I supposed to know these people? Am I like the people who can hear a chime and are like, oh, duh, this composer, this guy, legendary composer for Nintendo who wrote like everything you love.
Right.
That's never been me. I've always been a fan of just like, yo, it sounds good. Yeah, you get some violins and some drums in there, and we're halfway there. But one of the things I've done, for my growth this year is to actually look into, composers, see what they've made, see what they've worked on. Maybe it's like, oh crap, duh. Like, I love Jack and Daxter. No wonder I loved, Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. No, that they do not have the same composer. That's just example people.
Sure.
Before someone goes, we're like, what? What shocking revelation? Nah. Unless they do, then yeah. I did right on me. I'm
Who's
smart.
Who's to say?
So I've been looking, really heavily into music, and I would start this off by saying this is going to be my surprise. I'm going to have one surprise pick on this list, and this is the one. Guitar Hero Live, I think, really was slept on. I think that was a phenomenal Guitar Hero game.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever played it.
I did not.
Okay, I did. I was about to say, I feel like even within the industry, not a lot of people did. The redesign of how you play the guitar was amazing. The music video aspect was cool, and the soundtrack was really. I don't know. Someone's gonna hate me for this, but like all the right alternative and indie songs with the right amount of mainstream.
Okay.
And that game got very little support post release. I believe that was. I remember playing it at E3. That was either 2014 or 2015. It's been a while.
I think it must have been 2015. Yeah, because that game came out around the same time as Rock Band 4, and we did. I remember we did a lot of coverage on Rock Band 4, but didn't see a ton of stuff about Guitar Hero Live.
Yeah, and I just really I get it was played out by that point. Like, the genre was more or less dead. And I mean, it happens. But it was the first Guitar Hero game that really felt like a cool experience because I mean the first ones, they didn't have licensed music, then they got licensed music, and then I've always told myself I've never known if I liked Guitar Hero or is it just a party game and it was the cool thing like a Fortnite and I collected for that. But I can honestly say Guitar Hero Live was the only Guitar Hero game that I enjoyed without anyone else to play with. Like I could just play that by myself and have a great time. And I hate that it came at the tail end of all their, years of experience and learning when the genre was dead. So basically, people go listen to Cool Kids and play Guitar Hero Live.
That's a late Guitar Hero Live plug. I like it. Nice work.
Nice work. What about you? What soundtracks of generation just hit you hard?
Well, I mean, so you're talking about like licensed soundtracks, right? Like with Guitar Hero Live, you're talking about songs that have composed by a multitude of people.
Oh no, it can be I was mainly talking about OSTs, but Guitar Hero Live was the only one that wasn't an OST, so I just got that one out the way.
I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Persona 5. Like that, I mean, all the Persona games have an awesome soundtrack. Persona 5 to me is like, I rarely will listen to video game soundtracks outside of the games themselves, right? And if I do, I tend to skew towards stuff that's like a little more electronic or a little, something like less orchestral. Like a soundtrack that I listened to a lot back, not even back in the day, relatively recently, I guess, was Hotline Miami. Love the Hotline Miami soundtrack. But that Persona 5 soundtrack, man, is so funky and so weird and so like Japanese, and every single musician on that soundtrack is just bringing their A game and is so dope. Like especially the bass player. Holy shit! Like, man, that is. Sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to do swears, but
we'll let it slide this time.
Okay, no more cussies from me. But man, yeah, the Persona 5 soundtrack top to bottom is really great and very different for like an RPG. There's a lot of vocalization, there's a lot of like actual songs and lyrics, and I think that Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal kind of run away with the original soundtrack award to me. And in close second, although very different, The Witcher 3 soundtrack I think is amazing. It just like so epic, so beautiful, so fitting, and like it could very well be. It could have very well been something that was like so similar to Skyrim or Lord of the Rings in that kind of feel, and it is, but it manages to be unique in and of itself. And I really love that soundtrack as well.
Cool. I'm glad Persona 5. I figured you would because honestly,
Mhm.
you played the game. How could you not love it? I'm glad you used the word funky because one thing, like, I genuinely enjoy jazz. It's
Mhm.
I'm talking about like old school, like Cantaloupe.
Mhm.
If you're familiar with them, but and I enjoy it today. There are still out there doing wonderful things with the fact that like I said, it was funky, it was jazzy. It had the lyrics, and I watch anime a lot, and I've always been surprised with jazz influence in anime. It just seemed like something you will relate to being Japanese.
Oh yeah.
And the thing about Persona 5 is, I think I genuinely didn't like the game until maybe 20 hours in.
Okay.
And that was because that was my first game, and I knew what to expect. And I knew it was gonna get good later. So, but I kid you not, it took maybe 2 days for me to be like, I'm a sharpshooter. What else would I be? Like,
Yeah.
like I would be at work, and it wasn't like it's stuck in my head. Get this out of my head. I genuinely happy it was there. I would just be humming it nonstop, and then and then I got to like the game, and then it hit a point where I thought like, oh, okay, I've heard all the songs that I'm ever gonna hear in this game. Cool, they're all great. And then I get to like Shido's dungeon, and then I can't remember some of
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, all right, boss battle. That's like,
Yeah.
you always, in music theory, they'll teach you that music can energize people and get them pumped.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that was probably the first game where the music in a game for me personally did that.
Yeah, totally.
Situations have done that for me, and the music added to that. But this was the time the music was the direct cause of it. I'm just like, yeah, I'm going.
Let's
Like
do
I
it.
died
Yeah.
in the final phase of the boss battle, and wasn't even mad because I was just like, oh cool, I can listen to the
Now I get
song
to hear
again.
this track again. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
for me it's the gun shop theme. Like I for a while there I would boot that game up and just like hang out in the gun shop menu while I was like cleaning up my room or doing chores or something, because that gun shop theme just slaps, man, and I just leave it on in the background. And then eventually I just bought the soundtrack. Like I think it's the only thing that I bought off of iTunes in probably 5 years, because I couldn't find it on Spotify. It wasn't there. And so I was just like, you know what? I want to have this when I'm just like out and about. It's a soundtrack that I would, sit down and listen to when I'm on the bus or at the gym or something. So like, yeah, I think it's one of the only purchases in my iTunes library in a very long time.
nice. So, like I told you, string instruments do it for me. You get an
Uh-huh.
orchestral cue of like, when I first started playing Breath of the Wild, and like the somber strings hit for
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, I was done, 10 out of 10, don't need to play the rest of the game. But but so I played Royal. That I didn't play Vanilla, and I had to play through it twice because I didn't know you had to do certain things to get to the true
The
ending.
true ending.
Yeah, so it was cool. I was probably gonna new game plus it anyway. And so I
Yeah.
get the true ending, and then it plays through bittersweet, all that good stuff. And then the last theme hits, and it's so James Bondy. It's like, very slow ballroom, and then she just starts belting. I don't know the name of the song, but I know you
Uh-huh.
know it from. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
dear God, like you end on another 10 out of 10. Great. Like I was just like, I'm done with this soundtrack. Like
Yeah.
you could have easily just had the just a repeat of a song, a little remix, but no, here's this. I dare
Whole
say,
different, composition.
yeah, I would dare
Yeah.
say to anyone who hasn't played Persona 5 Royal, play the game, get to the true ending, don't look up the theme, because it's definitely something worth earned.
Yeah.
And so it's great. But I'm gonna move on and say I'm gonna combine these two games into one, but Ori
Okay.
1 and 2.
Great soundtracks.
Moon Studios,
Yeah.
hand clap for me. Just, it like, if you listen to rap, people say one of the, arts of rap is the rapper has to learn how to ride the beat, effectively, cadence his song with the beat that's playing on it. And I feel like, especially with the chase sequences, it puts that to a T. But for lack of a better musical term or analogy, Ori rides the beat of the music throughout the game. And it's just something, I think back to the water tree for the first time so many times. And I remember getting to the top, the water gushes, the music blaring, it comes down, and it's just, my heart's pounding from this just extremely difficult run that I've probably done 20 times at this point. And the highs are high and the lows are lows. The mountains peak and the valleys dip in that game. And
yeah.
And I mean, I'm gushing at this point, but I can't help it because like Ori just done it for me. Like I remember at the end of part 2, I don't know if you played part 2 yet, if you have, but I just remember the ending of that game. Like the music brought me to tears. Like I mean, the story was beautiful, but like I was so moved.
And I haven't played 2. But I have it on Switch. I want to play it. I just haven't got around to it.
Okay, well, yeah. I'll stop talking about Ori. But you play 1, yeah. And also she does the little when she comes up for air, and that has nothing to do with the music. I just wanted to let people know that was cute and amazing.
Yeah, right on.
And did you have another one before I was going?
No.
Okay, so here's a duh from everyone that's gonna be like, why didn't you talk about this? Undertale, Toby Fox, you're a mad lad, you're a genius. You always hear about these stories about these games made by one people, but it's like, bro, you wrote the music too, and you did. I don't know. Like people always talk about Melovania as like the best song, but honestly, what's the name? I wrote it right here. It's Battle Against a True Hero is the best song in that game, people.
Okay.
It's if you haven't heard it, Zach, I will send it to you later.
Oh no, I've heard it.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm big Undertale fan.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The genocide route to me is like, I'm just like, nope, that's it. That's the highlight of the game right there.
Right.
Shout out to him. And my last one was actually a recent one, Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oof. Oof. Right in the gut, like that. Yeah, that I played a lot of Final Fantasy VII when I was a kid. It was probably instrumental in getting me into video games as like an actual way of life, I guess. Like I love that game, and I played it over and over and over again as a kid. And that initial sequence in the remake when the camera swooping into Midgar and the soundtrack kicks in, like it made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Like that hearing it in a fully like orchestrated version is just like really something special. And that soundtrack is incredible.
One of my favorite moments. So I don't like Aerith as a character. I just don't like. I can't give you a case that.
Sure.
I don't know what it is. Like it's weird. I didn't like her in the original game either. But I was like, well, that's weird. Maybe I just don't like the tropes because they're not really voiced, and her character doesn't really she doesn't harm anything. But in this one, I don't know if it's the voice actress they got, but it like reaffirmed the old idea that I didn't like her character.
Okay.
But I will say, in chapter 9, when Cloud and Aerith are getting to know each other and they're going through the abandoned highway. Well, actually, before they get to the abandoned highway, they're just having like a stroll through the city. They're leaving her house and making their way to it. And like that part of the game where like, I guess I'm just gonna call it like they're bonding or growing to get to know each other. The music through that whole section is beautiful. Just first half of chapter 9, just beautiful, well done. And I was gonna say it was so beautiful. It made me like her. I was just like, as weird as this may sound, like the music told her story better than she ever could for me. And her theme,
I do think her theme is really beautiful too.
Yeah. So go Aerith's theme, not so much the person. But that's how I feel. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, you didn't have a single Nintendo game soundtrack in here. Honestly, I didn't. Like, I thought of Smash, but
you
Smash
talked about Breath of the Wild. You talked about the strings in Breath of the Wild.
But I guess I feel like all the Nintendo music songs are good, but they're just beautiful remasters of songs we've heard, over and over again. That doesn't make them not good. It's just, yeah, it is beautiful. No matter how many times I hear a rendition of Zelda's Lullaby, it is still great. But at the end of the day, it's still Zelda's Lullaby.
I mean, I feel like Breath of the Wild had a lot of original composition in it, like a lot, and very like. I think probably some of the best moments in that game are, riding across the plains, and there's just really sparse piano or sparse strings happening throughout, and then very, very gently, like in the background, you get just a taste of the Zelda theme. I think that encompassing, putting a classic, putting a known theme in the middle of something new is a really interesting approach to what you're talking about, right? Because like a lot of Nintendo music is reskins of old stuff, but there's also a lot of new composition in there as well. And I think that's probably honestly one of Breath of the Wild's strongest parts.
All right, sir. I don't have nothing to add to that. I mean, you're correct. I like your use of hand motion and taste. It was like I was like, oh,
okay,
okay, connoisseur there.
Yeah,
But
I try.
yeah, but no, I honestly was gonna put Smash in there, but I don't know. I felt like that was a cop out because it's just like, well, of
It's
course,
just every soundtrack.
Yeah,
it's every soundtrack. Yeah, it's just all of it. Just so much music in Smash. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, cool. Like Banjo-Kazooie remix, and I'm just like, man, Smash is just number the giant nostalgia factor, honestly. And then I don't know if I can remove myself to look at that with a legit, neutral opinion, because I'll just be like, oh yeah, the music is great because it's everything I've ever loved ever at any point in time. It's like, early gaming, teenage gaming, young adult gaming, current gaming. And so I took that off the list. And also because I actually do not like Smash Ultimate's theme. Its main theme, the Undying Light song. I don't know why. It's weird. It's like I kind of want to like it, but I don't know if the singer's not hitting the right octaves for me.
Okay.
But no disrespect to Smash. Great game. But yeah, I think those were the best soundtracks of this generation. Honestly, I wish I could throw a Metal Gear Solid 3 in there because anytime I talk about music, I always bring up Metal Gear Solid 3, but that's
great soundtrack.
That's firmly not in this generation.
Right.
And I can't even like BS it and be like, it was on the PS4. Yeah, it wasn't. It's But Zach, I want to thank you for joining me this show this week. Being my first video guest in a very long time. So
right on.
That's cool. COVID can't stop nothing.
Yeah.
But one last time, for the people who don't know, where can they find you and who are you?
Yeah, so I'm Zach Ryan. You can find me at IGN. That's where I work. That's where I live. And I'm on NVC, Nintendo Voice Chat, every Thursday at 3 p.m. I'm on most episodes of that show. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at ZacharyISD there. Yeah, that's about where people can find me.
All right, cool. And as always, you can find this show at FC Podcast 23 on YouTube at the Game Fanatics. Back there again. You can find me, Harmon Jr. at Harmon Jr. on all your favorite social media, now including TikTok. Yay! I finally did that. I'm down with the Gen Zers. You can watch me, do some of this and
nice.
all of that.
I'll follow you. I'll throw you a follow on TikTok.
All of that, and if you like the show, just, the biggest thing you can do is like, share, subscribe. It is free 99. But if you really liked it, there's a Patreon. You can follow any of the tiers, donate money. You don't have to, but if you did, I appreciate it. And I want to give a shout out to the Patreons, Gabriel Garcia, Bake Rice, Ryan Frazier, for doing just that. I appreciate you fellas. So, I'll try to keep up the goodness for y'all. But as always, everyone, have a great week and be blessed.